Hey Legionnaires, Mark Sutton here, Department Public Relations Director for the American Legion, Department of Michigan. Today I'm talking with the Executive Director of Fisher House, Michigan, Kate Melcher, who is running the program here in Michigan. Because of COVID-19 and all the shutdowns, we were unable to have a grand opening of the Ann Arbor VA Fisher House, which is now operational. So I wanted to bring Kate on to give everyone an update on what's happening with Fisher House in Ann Arbor, because this was a big program by past Department Commander Steve Strigow. The American Legion was very instrumental in raising money for them to build this house, and so we wanted to bring her on to give her an update. Thanks for joining us, Kate. How are things going in Ann Arbor?
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here. I'm really excited to be able to speak to all the Michigan Legionnaires because you all were such a huge part of making all of this possible. So we didn't get to throw a party. We didn't get to have our big public celebration, but we always say about Fisher House is that we are a mission-focused organization, and the mission is continuing no matter what. So June 1st, just a month and a half ago, the Ann Arbor VA was able to welcome their first veteran family guests. And in the first month alone, June 1st through June 30th, they welcomed 53 different families for a total of more than 130 individuals. So even in its first month, it's going like gangbusters. And I see that Mark is pulling up some photographs from the beautiful Ann Arbor Fisher House. One of the unique things about Fisher houses is that while architecturally they are all similar, they're all built on 3 different bases of design, every Fisher house is unique. So when public health concerns subside and when you are able to visit the Fisher House and when we're able to have a big party, when you walk through the front doors of the Ann Arbor Fisher House, you're going to see Detroit. You're going to see Lansing. You're going to see the agrarian parts of our state in the art, in the colors, and in the warmth of the feel of the Ann Arbor Fisher House.
And this is like a common, so can you describe a Fisher House? So you have how many rooms are in the Fisher, how many families can stay in a Fisher House?
The Fisher
Or
House
in,
that's in Ann Arbor has 16 private family suites. So they're nice bedrooms with ensuite baths, and then everything else is common. What we're looking at right here is a photograph of the dining room. One of the greatest ways to create a support network is breaking bread together, having conversation over a meal, and this is where families can gather, and the tables are large enough so that they can have a bit of distance, for public health concerns and whatnot. But, ordinarily, families would gather here every morning, every night. They would talk about the hardships that they're dealing with. They would ask questions about doctors and different conditions. And, we all have military service in common, and that extends to the families. So when the Army and the Marine Corps, when they issued us our families, we had to DX those when we took the uniform off. So the Fisher House kind of gives it to us again. We are issued an extended family when we walk into the foyer, as you see here. This is the first thing that you'll see when you walk into a Fisher House.
okay.
And you'll see that bust of Zachary and Elizabeth Fisher.
Okay.
Zachary is the founder of Fisher House Foundation. And these Fishers are not related to our Detroit Fishers that we usually think about in Michigan. It's not Fisher Body. It's actually Fisher Brothers Construction out of New York City. And they were incredibly blessed in life and decided to pass those blessings along to military and veteran causes and started the Fisher House program nearly 30 years ago.
Okay. And so how many families do we have there right now?
I can't tell you specifically tonight, but April and John tell me, they're getting 10, 11 families at a time. Every night is different. There are some families that are scheduled to stay for weeks. There are other families who need to come just to support a loved one who needs an outpatient procedure but has a long drive. No sense at getting up at dark 30 for a 6 a.m. procedure. Come stay the night before.
So if you, so if we have veteran families up in the UP or lower peninsula, since Michigan's a little different than everybody else, what is the process for those veterans to or families to find out if there's availability so they can stay at the Fisher House and keep their costs down from seeing their doctor?
Sure, the process actually starts with a medical appointment. If you are scheduled for procedure that would require any sort of inpatient activity, ask the question,
Okay.
is there a room available at the Fisher House? April LaRock, who's the manager of the Ann Arbor Fisher House, has done a great job educating all of the service chiefs in different departments about how to make a referral. There's an online referral process that has to be initiated by a VA employee. And a stay in a Fisher House is 100% necessitated on medical need. It's not financial need, there's nothing else. So if there's a medical reason and you live far enough away that it's a hardship to drive, Fisher House is likely going to be an option for you.
Okay.
That process will determine eligibility, will determine availability and reservations. But start with a conversation with your doctor, your nurse, or your social worker.
Okay. So when they make that appointment, make that initial engagement about the Fisher House.
Absolutely.
Okay. So generally, volunteers will bring stuff or continue to donate money. What can, under our certain current conditions of restraint,
Yeah.
how can American Legion posts and auxiliary units and Sons of the American Legion continue to support, obviously financially, but outside of finances, is there, are there food drives or anything like that that they could participate in?
Well, ordinarily, let's call it under normal circumstances, meal trains are a huge part of a Fisher House.
Okay.
When a Fisher House family comes through the front door, we at Fisher House, Michigan want to make certain that they want for nothing. The VA handles the logistics and the warmth and the greeting, and Fisher House, Michigan makes sure that the refrigerators are stocked and that they get help with transportation and all of these kinds of things. And we do that with meal trains. We have organizations and families and Legion posts that show up and make spaghetti, and we can't do that right now. Volunteers are actually not allowed into the VA at the moment, and until that changes, we certainly, can't help April organize a meal train. The other thing is that our grocery bill for them is much greater because we have to do individualized things. We have to think less about, large family style where we can, offer a meal for a dozen people, and think more about single serving items and, just reduce the physical contact while they still create that togetherness of the brick and mortar support system of a Fisher House. So our number one need is pledges for monthly gifts.
Okay.
Or groceries.
Oh.
And it can be the smallest thing. A post can say, we don't have a lot, but we can send you $25 a month. Well, that's huge. That's milk for a week.
Okay.
It's a big deal. So, even making a small impact like that, it's a much bigger deal than you might imagine. And to be able to help us plan and say, you know what, we're going to do $25 a month for a year. That's great. We know that we can buy milk 12 times a year. Monthly gifts are really, really important. Grocery gift cards are helpful. Amazon gift cards are helpful. Anything like that.
Do you have some specific grocery store chains that are in your area that you concentrate on?
We take what we can get.
Okay.
Statewide, Meijer is great. Kroger is great. We've got folks who give, locally for Plum Market and Bush's and all of that. But, the larger chains, Walmart, any of those that you have access to in your local community would be most welcome for us. I had a thought and lost it. So let's see what else you've got in mind.
So Ann Arbor, Michigan, the Ann Arbor VA Fisher House was the first one in Michigan. Fisher House has been around for quite some time, but this is the first one here in Michigan. And so we know that, or at least we've heard that Detroit VA, John Dingle, has been working to try to get a Fisher House in that area. Mm-hmm. And are there any others in Michigan, and what is the status of Detroit right now?
So you're right, we have our first Fisher House in Michigan. Fisher House, Michigan is continuing to raise capital for Detroit because in March of 2018, the Secretary of the VA signed the approval letter. Once that letter is signed, that means there will be a Fisher House in Detroit. Some of the logistical challenges of finding land and all of those other things that we need to do, that's what we're working on right now. So as of last month, at the Detroit City Council Military and Veteran Task Force meeting, Council President Brenda Jones, had some folks from the city talk about the 3 different locations that are potentials for the Fisher House. One site is in the Woodbridge area near Wayne State. One site is in North Corktown. So if you remember where Old Tiger Stadium was,
Yep.
north of there, yep. And then the last one is unique. It's in a residential area of the Virginia Park area on Estates Drive. So those are the 3 different areas that the land bank currently holds. And the process is that once land is identified as potential, the VA actually comes in and does the due diligence. The VA has to see, environmentally, is it safe? Are there any, historic preservation office issues, title concerns, anything like that? That due diligence process typically takes 18 to 24 months.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And if you all remember, I think at State Convention, I mentioned that they were already looking at a parcel of land and doing that same process. They found some environmental contaminants that were not, the mitigation would have been too extensive and expensive. So looking at 3 other options now, and the VA is doing the due diligence. So we are patiently waiting for the logistics there. But in the meantime, we're still raising capital and raising support and awareness for the Fisher House coming to Detroit.
And what kind of capital do you need to raise just for that one Fisher House?
Each Fisher House takes approximately $7 million to build.
Wow. Okay.
And sometimes when I say that number, people say, "Oh my word, that's so much. Why?" I actually had a friend out of Grosse Pointe who would argue with me all the time about, "Oh my gosh, you could build X number of houses for that." Well, he came and visited the Ann Arbor Fisher House and actually apologized. He said, "Oh my gosh, Kate, I'm so sorry. I've been fighting you about this number for so long, and I'm looking at what you've actually delivered here, and I can't believe you did all of this for $7 million." So that's the number that we're after. Go ahead.
Is that $7 million for just the construction, or does that tie into like future help of keeping that? Is it like when we would buy when the federal government buys an F-18 from the military or a helicopter like you flew, it costs $25 million because everything goes into it. All your spare parts that they're thinking of, is that what the $7 million is, or?
No, the $7 million is for initial construction and
Wow.
furnishing.
Okay.
And the reason why it stops, it's because every Fisher House is built with private gifts and grants. So that's $7 million of private money. There's no state money, there's no federal money, nothing like that. But this is a public-private partnership. So once the house is built with the private gifts and grants, it's gifted 100% to the VA. Then the VA uses appropriated funds for the operation and the maintenance and the staff.
Oh, okay. Okay, so they're building a top-notch facility to keep future maintenance to a minimum.
They absolutely are. They're using materials that are time tested. They're not using the cheapest materials. They're using the best materials. Every single Fisher House is ADA compliant. It's barrier free. There's an elevator in the middle of it.
Oh, wow.
It's this strange hybrid because it's not quite a home and it's not quite an institutional type facility. It's in between. It feels warm, but it is. Let me give you an example. Alaska. Last year, I've lost track of time, so maybe it was last year, maybe it was 2 years ago. Alaska has 2 houses up there at the Joint Base on the military installation, and there was an earthquake, 6 point something, a pretty substantial earthquake. And we called the Fisher House manager to check on her and see how she was doing, and she said, "Well, I'm sweeping up some glass because we had some vases fall off the counter. But other than that, we're fine."
Wow.
There were freeways torn apart and everything else, but the 2 Fisher Houses were built to last.
Wow.
They're built for our grandkids who are veterans, Mark.
Outstanding. Okay. And so Michigan has 5 medical centers here in the state. Are there any others who are applying or looking into bringing a Fisher House near them?
Yes, Iron Mountain is actually really excited about having a Fisher House. The Iron Mountain Medical Center has the distinction of being the most rural the most rural VA medical center in the entire nation.
Oh, wow.
So while it's small, they don't have as many beds as Ann Arbor or Detroit. Nearly everyone who has to travel to Iron Mountain for care is traveling a long way. They've got a beautiful campus. I don't know if you've ever been up there,
Oh,
but
yes.
it's just green space for days, it seems like. So I imagine land would not be a problem. Um, but there's not been an open season for applications yet. We expect the VA central office may start asking for Fisher House applications at the end of this year or the beginning of next year, but Iron Mountain is already trying to get their ducks in a row and get that application staged so that when open season occurs, they're ready and they're going to apply.
Outstanding. Let us know when that happens so we can get the word
I
out.
will.
And
I will. And then, all the advocacy strength that we have in Washington, getting a Fisher House is very competitive.
oh, I bet.
Not simply just need. There's only so many that the VA can approve and that Fisher House can accept every few years. And so Iron Mountain is likely going to be competing against Phoenix and Madison, Wisconsin,
Wow.
and other large cities who either need a second Fisher House or haven't had one yet for whatever reason. So I will definitely let you know when they drop their packet and we can use your support.
So a Fisher House, is there a Fisher House in Green Bay or in Milwaukee, Wisconsin?
Yes.
Because I know that there are some UP veterans who have to travel down there. So if they don't know, are there a Fisher House in either of those locations?
Yes, there's a Fisher House in Milwaukee, and the team that runs that is Fisher House, Wisconsin, and we're great friends. We go to their golf tournaments, they come to ours. A dollar raised for Fisher House in Michigan is a dollar raised for every Fisher House. That's the way we see it. So, yes, if our UP vets that would ordinarily go to Iron Mountain need a more substantial procedure and they've got to go to Milwaukee, anybody in that VISN will go to the Milwaukee Fisher House. So
So,
same thing.
so have
Ask
a
your doctor for
conversation
a
with your
referral.
primary
Yep,
care physician and when you make your appointment and go from there.
that's right. Get
Okay,
your Fisher House referral at the same time as your surgical referral.
good. Kate, is there anything else that you'd like to let the Legionnaires know about Fisher House before we complete?
Yes, and this is less about Fisher House and more about the Michigan Legionnaires. I remember having early conversations with Commander Strigo a couple of years ago about, how the Legion might be able to support Fisher House, and he thought, well, we can probably support, with $75,000 or something like that. That would be a really nice donation from us. And, I kind of challenged him to say, as Legionnaires, couldn't we give a dollar for every single vet in the state? And he kind of went, oh, I don't know about that. You guys have nearly done it. I'm a Legionnaire as well. Over $400,000 since
Wow.
2018 has come from Legionnaires. And
Wow.
I'm sorry, this is a bit of an intrusion. This is Ranger, by the way.
Hi, Ranger.
Okay.
This is for everyone. This is the beauty of Zoom and doing interviews remotely and in the house.
You get to see my kitty that's the same color as a tan beret. That's why he's called Ranger. Anyway, I just wanted to express once again my sincere appreciation to all the Legionnaires who gave what they could when they could, and now you have the opportunity to support families directly. It's not this nebulous capital campaign and we're buying brick and mortar. You're buying milk, you're buying bananas, all of the kinds of things that you need in your own home. You're providing that for someone who's going through a medical crisis, someone who maybe is saying goodbye to a veteran that's in palliative care.
What information can you give veterans over video about where to go to give the donation that would go to the Ann Arbor Fisher House to help buy milk or to send cards and things like that?
They can start with our website, which is www.fisherhousemichigan.org. There's no C in Fisher, and we spell out Michigan.
Okay.
fisherhousemichigan.org. And we also have links on there that will link you to the VA staff and voluntary services. So there is more than one way to give to the Fisher House. Giving to Fisher House Michigan, we can be a little bit more flexible in how money is spent, which is helpful for the VA staff, but it is also helpful for the VA staff to have money directly so that they don't have to come, ask Aunt Kate for her wallet. So there are links on that website as well. If
Okay.
you have questions, you can call us at 518-481-0552. And that number doesn't sound like it's a Michigan number, but it's a free Google number. So
Oh,
you'll either get me or our chief of staff, Suzanne, or one of our board members. There will be a live person or at least voicemail, and we'll call you back.
what is that number again?
518-481-0552.
Okay, awesome. Okay, Kate, thanks for your time. Thanks for everything you're doing for our veterans there in Ann Arbor at the Fisher House. Please keep us informed of updates on Detroit and in Iron Mountain if that comes about. And then if there's anything the Michigan Legionnaires can do for you, please let us know. For everyone's notice, please look for the article in the July-August issue of the Michigan Legionnaire about Fisher House and an update and some of those pictures. Thanks again, Kate. Appreciate your
Thanks so
time.
much, Mark. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.